Life in a fishing community. Most people live in big towns or cities. These are busy, noisy places where everything moves fast. Towns and cities are known as urban places. Other people live in small towns or villages. Here, everyday life is quieter and slower. There are fewer people and fewer buildings. There is less traffic. Small towns and villages are known as rural places. People need the same resources no matter where they live. They need food and clean water. They need shelter and energy for their homes and vehicles. They need jobs to earn money. Rural places are built close to these resources. This book looks at a small town that depends on fish and shellfish for food and a source of jobs. Fish can be caught with a line and hook, as in angling for salmon. They can also be caught in nets as they swim along. Shellfish, such as scallops, are scooped up from the bottom of the ocean with metal rakes. Lobsters and crabs are trapped in metal or wooden traps. Fishing boats use big nets to catch fish at sea. Gill nets are stretched out in long rows underwater. Fish get tangled in the nets as they swim by. The nets have holes that are big enough to let smaller fish swim through. The young fish do not get caught and have a chance to grow. Trawler nets are like big socks that are pulled through the water. Fish get caught in the nets and are hauled aboard. A fish has a backbone and a skeleton inside its body. Sole, mackerel, and haddock are types of fish caught in the oceans of North America. Salmon and trout are also fished, but they can be caught in rivers and raised on fish farms too. Shellfish do not have backbones. They have outer shells that are like skeletons. Shrimp, lobsters, and crabs are known as crustaceans. They are shellfish that molt or shed their shells as they grow. Clams, scallops, and oysters are mollusks. Mollusks have shells that grow with them as they get older. They do not molt. People have fished in seas of North America for thousands of years. Today, fishing villages and towns are found on every coast. They range from tiny rural places to big cities with many harbors. There are only 631 people living in Lansalloup, Labrador. Most adults in the village work at the shrimp processing factory. The town of Cortez in Florida has 4,901 residents. Fishermen from Cortez catch mullet in the Gulf of Mexico, as they have done since the 1800s. The village of Klemptu in British Columbia, Canada, has 450 residents. There, the local native board raises salmon at an agricultural farm. Lunenburg in Nova Scotia, Canada, is a rural fishing town. It was founded by British people in 1753. Here, fishing and shipbuilding have always been an important part of town life. Lunenburg has a colorful waterfront and harbor. Like other rural places, it has schools, churches, a bank, grocery stores, and a weekly farmers market where local people buy food. Lunenburg is also home to many businesses related to fishing and boat building. Tourists come year-round and enjoy its many inns, restaurants, and shops. Visitors come for the pretty scenery, festivals, fresh seafood, and sites such as the Fisheries Museum of the Atlantic. About 2,500 people live and work in Lunenburg. Some adults work in stores, offices, or at the harbor. Others work in the town's fish processing factory. When children are not in school, they participate in activities at the community center, play at the recreation ground, or skate at the skate park. Some children help their parents in their stores or at their market stalls. Lunenburg is a small town, so it's easy to get around by walking or cycling. There is no public transportation. Residents often see people they know when they go into town. In the summer, many tourists visit and stay in the town. During this time, the streets, stores, and the waterfront are very busy. In a rural town, there are many jobs to be done and not enough adults to do them. Everyone in a family has to help with the work. In Lunenburg, the lobster fishing season lasts for only a few winter months. Often the weather is too cold to take the boats out. Before the season, the family cleans the boat and gets the lobster traps ready. Fish are cut up into tiny pieces and stored in freezers to use as bait for the lobsters. On fishing days, the boats are taken out to sea early in the morning and the traps are set. Later in the day, the traps are collected and the boats are sailed back to the harbor. The lobsters are unloaded and taken to the market. Commercial fishing boats come in all shapes and sizes. At Lunenburg, boats used to fish for lobsters close to the shore are about 40 feet long. Lobstermen work in small teams of 2 or 4. They make daily trips to collect the lobsters from their traps. Trawlers are larger boats used to catch fish far out at sea. The fishermen may be away from home for a few days before returning. Factory trawlers are the largest boats that fish near Lunenburg. They are up to 230 feet long. About 25 people work on board. They prepare and freeze fish on the boat. These trawlers stay out at sea for up to 6 weeks at a time. Not everyone who works on the waterfront at Lunenburg is a fisherman. The harbor master is in charge of helping boats navigate safely in and out of the harbor. Coast guards make sure boats follow the rules of the sea and keep out of each other's way. On the waterfront, dockers help the boats refuel, set off, and tie up. They also unload small boxes of fish. Crane and forklift operators help unload bigger containers of fish. On big boats, ice is used to keep the fish fresh on the way to the processing factory and markets. If the fish are to be taken a long distance, they are transported by truck or train. Lunenburg has an over 250-year history of fishing. Overfishing in the past 100 years has left less fish in the sea. Many people that used to be fishermen now work at the fish processing factory. Fish caught off the coast of Nova Scotia are brought here to be prepared for eating. In the factory, fish are cleaned and cut. Then they are to be seasoned with spices or sauces or dipped in flour and breadcrumbs and lightly fried to make fish sticks or fillets. Shellfish are cooked and their meat is removed and shredded. These fish products are packaged and shipped to stores all over North America. In Lunenburg, there is plenty to see and do all year round. Winter is the fishing season when the waterfront is busy with boats day and night. During the summer and early fall, the town comes alive with outdoor activities and events for residents, visitors, and tourists. Like many rural places, Lunenburg has a few big events each year. Everyone in the town gets involved. They rehearse shows and plays and make things to sell. The Waterfront and Seafood Festival take place in September. Big sailing ships from all over North America visit the harbor for people to explore. The town of Lunenburg is a mixture of old and new. All the old buildings, houses, stores, barns, warehouses, and shipbuilding yards are made of wood. Some new buildings, such as the fish processing factory and small offices, are made of brick, concrete, and steel. The rural look and feel of the town is changing. While everyday life in the town is still based around fishing, tourism is becoming more and more important. Many residents now work in gift shops and restaurants. There are internet cafes and a video game company. Despite these modern changes, Lunenburg has maintained its history and charm. Its historic buildings, pretty scenery, museums, and festivals attract visitors every year. There are many rural fishing towns like Lunenburg all over the world. Their fishermen provide seafood for people every day. Fish and shellfish are sources of nutrients needed for health. In Japan, raw fish is served as sushi. In Spain, shellfish is a main part of a rice dish called paella. In Russia, people eat fish eggs as a spread called caviar. In some parts of the sea and oceans, no fishing is allowed. This allows young fish and shellfish to grow and multiply and renew supplies of seafood. People who live in rural areas that once relied on fishing will now have to find new ways of getting everything they need. Do you think you'd like to live in a fishing community?